gentlemen. And first and foremost, we start with you, Jack. Let's begin. How did this idea come about? You're quite green of age, and you decided to travel solo, alone, fly your plane around the world. So tell me a bit about the inspiration behind the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole mission and the whole goal of this trip is to become the youngest person to fly an airplane around the world. And
right.
I just so happened to start flying at a young enough age to where I was able to do something like this. I started flying when I was 13 years old, so quite young.
How old are you now?
I'm 20. Yeah, so I don't have a ton of flying experience because it's only been 7 years, but more than most 20-year-olds have.
Indeed.
So I learned about the record when I was 17, and at the time I heard he'd been flying for about 4 years. So I thought, well, you know, hey, that might be a fun thing to try. And then just about for the last year, I've been working on the record and
you're talking about the Guinness World Book of Records.
Exactly,
just to
yeah,
clarify.
the Guinness Book of World Records,
yes.
and I did a lot of research, and it was a lot of work getting everything together, and the preparation was really the biggest part. But you know, here I am a year later, almost halfway around the world.
Right, that's amazing. So you've got a year to go, or doesn't it work with that
No,
kind
no.
of time
So
frame?
the time of the trip it does not factor into the record at all. The record is just to become the youngest person to fly an airplane around the world solo.
That's amazing.
So I could take the next 10 years if at the end of it
You're still the
I
youngest.
was still the youngest, exactly.
Right.
But no, I should be back home in about 25 days.
Cool.
Mr. Gold, tell us more about your role with Jack. Is there a means of operation?
Yes, I'm part of a group of volunteers called General Aviation Support Egypt. And for the last 3 years, we've helped pilots from abroad, Europe, America, Australia, come to Egypt and get past the bureaucracy that exists in aviation in Egypt. We've been working alongside the Aero Club of Egypt and the American University in Cairo, who have helped immensely to support Jack as he comes to Egypt. And we've worked with Jack's routing company in Canada so that he gets a trouble-free trip through Egypt and onwards. And on top of that, we're also giving him accommodation, sightseeing tours, food, transport, and a good time.
Great, indeed. And of course, we will talk to you later on, Jack, about your visit to Egypt. But before I get into that, I just want to ask you about your travels so far. You've been to lots of countries and cities around the world until you've come to Egypt. So tell us a bit about your experience.
Yeah, so the trip from the start has kind of been plagued by bad weather. Going across the United States was some terrible weather. And then as I got up into Canada, I realized one of the worst mistakes I made on the trip, and that was forgetting my passport back in the United States.
That's a big one.
Yeah, so that was a little bit of a mishap, but since then to here, it's been really smooth sailing. All the countries I have visited have been, you know, beautiful. It's been very interesting to see all the different cultures, and it's really been a lot of fun.
Do you record something about each of these countries? I mean, after your trip, or
will I record? Yeah. So along with me, I have cameras, of course, and video cameras that I'm recording wherever I'm going. I also have a website which is solo2013.com, and if you go on there, you can see that I blog every single day, and just like you said, I am recording what happens wherever I go.
Today you are here in Egypt. Tell us what is next.
Well, tomorrow I'm off to Dubai. So Dubai, I will then go down to India and kind of work my way, you know, back around the world.
That's great. Mr. Gold, you said you have a lot in store for Jack in his 48-hour visit to Egypt. So tell us a bit some of the sightseeing that you have in store for him.
Well, we're going to the pyramids.
Of course.
That's after we've finished here.
All right.
Then we're going back to the 6th of October airport, where the Aero Club are having a big gathering of dignitaries, the Minister of Aviation and things. And Jack will be flying some gliders, hopefully, and giving a talk to all the young pilots about being young and flying around the world. And then tonight we're on the, I think it's called the Pharaoh boat on the Nile for dinner, cruising down the Nile. And looking forward to that, aren't you?
Indeed. So Jack, is Egypt compared to some of the countries that you've visited, and I do want to talk a bit about the actual countries themselves, how do you compare it to some of your previous destinations on your trip?
Yeah, well, of course it's much different. I mean, just being in this part of the world is completely different than being in Europe or Canada or the United States for that matter. But, you know, I've really found this country to be extremely friendly and welcoming. I mean, as I've been here, it's just been a very good experience so far, and you know, I think the culture here is really interesting and great, and you know, some of the sights are just amazing. As I was flying into Cairo International, you know, you look down and you see the pyramids right there, so I thought that was pretty fascinating.
So maybe here, yes, because we want to talk about this in details, but I think we've got this video that we can watch together, and we'll be back. Welcome back. And we extend, of course, special thanks to Mr. Eddie Gold. He's joint head of the General Aviation Support in Egypt. We thank him very much for joining us. And now we are joined with Dr. Alaa Ibrahim, professor at the American University in Cairo, and also head of the Aviation and Space Education Committee at the National Air Club of Egypt. Welcome to the show.
A very good morning to you indeed, Doctor. And let's start by a quick roundup of how you read, of course, Jack's quite unique experience to be the youngest pilot to fly solo around the world. He's aimed to break the Guinness World Book of Records. So as, of course, a professor, physically speaking, from a physical point of view, how doable is it to fly on your own long distances around the world, and of course as head of the aviation club?
First, I'd like to begin by welcoming Jack. We are very pleased that you are here in Cairo, Egypt. Jack and his team had various options, other countries in the region, so we are happy that he chose Cairo to spend a couple of days and to be his 10th stop in his 24-stop journey that he is going to visit about 14 different countries. This is an activity that we wanted to showcase AUC and the Air Club of Egypt and Eddie Gold's company are the main sponsors of his part here in Egypt, and it fits in the mission and objective of those entities to showcase achievements by young pilots. It's a way to inspire youth to accomplish similar missions and to take part in worthy causes. Jack is setting a new world record, but at the same time he is furthering the mission of some charity entities in the US, the Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and other ones. So it has several elements. It has a scientific aspect, it has a sports aspect, and it has also civil and charity aspects.
Social aspect.
Right.
So Jack, tell us more about yourself. I mean, what else are you doing and how did you start like this?
Well, I think aviation has just always been such an interest in my life because when I was a younger kid, I was always the one with my face up against the glass looking at all the planes and, stuff like that. But I'm currently a student, I guess not currently because I'm flying around the world, but I'm a student at the University of Colorado in Boulder. I actually had to take the semester off from school to work on this trip in specific.
Jack, Dr. Alaa just said that you also have a civil and a social aspect to your trip, and you are part of a charity organization, Big Brothers. Could you tell us a bit more about
Yeah,
what that
absolutely.
entails?
So Big Brothers Big Sisters is a organization back in the United States, and their whole mission statement is just to help less fortunate kids, and they have all different criterias which classify them as less fortunate, but I've raised quite a bit of money for these charities, and I think it's a really great cause for myself specifically because a lot of these kids in the program are similar to my age. So if they can maybe see someone similar to their age doing something, this big, hopefully I can inspire them to take on their version of an around-the-world flight.
Dr. Alaa, talking about Jack being here in Egypt, did you have something like, for example, workshops or any important events, Jack to be with our young people here in Egypt, anything like this?
Indeed, we have one this afternoon, and we have some photos and banner of the event, if we can see it, this afternoon at 3 p.m. in the 6th of October airport. Jack is going to give an open dialogue with Egyptian youth. The event is open for the general public, free of charge, from 3 to 5 p.m. And given the remote location of the airport, we also have 2 buses that are going to take people from Cairo University, the main entrance, and on the Tahrir street, the metro stop, there is another bus. The buses are going to leave at 2 p.m. So this is
I think we have now some of the pictures right now.
So this event is to take the inspiration that Jack was talking about to also bring it here in Egypt. So we would like to showcase him as a role model, and we would like to showcase the trip and his activities as a way to inspire Egyptian youth. It is also an important aspect when we talk about promoting tourism in Egypt. It's an important
As you mentioned
part.
tourism, this is something very important, Jack. Tell me, what about your impression when it comes to Egypt? How do you see Egypt now? And do you think this picture is different from what you learned about
absolutely.
the States? I'm talking about the media in the States, for example.
Yeah, so you definitely see, but it's not just the state. You see the negative in the media wherever it is. Whatever country they're talking about, it's always the negative. Since my arrival in Egypt, I have experienced nothing but positive, really, and nothing but really welcoming arms and friendly faces, friendly people welcoming me here. So it's really kind of different than what I think most people would expect.
Jack, interesting question. Where do you get your funding from? I know it's expensive to fly an airplane.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was mentioning, I took the semester off from school. Part of the reason for that was I did fundraising. So the flight is actually being sponsored by various sponsors from back where I live. And that's how I'm flying around the world. They are sending me around the world.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. What are you studying, by the way?
I'm a business major.
Okay, so it's got nothing to do
Nothing to do with it. Yeah, no, it's kind of funny. People think, well, you're a pilot. Maybe you're in aerospace engineering. And I don't think I'm smart enough to do.
Yeah, you can do.
You don't have to be a science geek to be a pilot and to break records.
Or likewise, you don't have to be a pilot to be a business person.
No, exactly.
Right.
And, it's... am I the most capable person to do something like this? Who knows? That's a hard one to answer. It's, the reason I'm successful thus far is because I'm motivated and I saw a goal of mine and I took steps to meet that goal, and I think that's a really important message for a lot of younger kids, especially because They have a goal when they're young, and if they do things to meet their goal, there's nothing they can't do.
So you have your plan, your objective, you know where you are going, and I think this is the key word of success when it comes to this. Yes, of course.
Thank you.
So Jack Wiegand, right, an American,
Yes.
the youngest pilot ever in the world. Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure having you with us
Thank
here.
you
Not
very
only on the
much.
program, but of course in Egypt as well.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And of course, Dr. Alaa Ibrahim, professor at the American University in Cairo and head of the Aviation and Space Education Committee at the National Air Club of Egypt. Always a pleasure having you with us on the show.
Indeed. Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. With that, we wrap up this morning's edition of The Breakfast Show. This Friday morning, we're in the company of Nashwa and Angie. Thank you so much for joining us. Do join us again tomorrow morning for another edition. Till then, it's goodbye. Thank you very much for joining.